NRG Stadium. Jeremy Fowler is with us, and we've got a lot to get to. As I said, Jeremy, the Bills entering tonight's game missing a couple key pieces on that offense. What do we need to know?
Laura, the Bills are thin at the receiver playmaking positions. Tight end Dalton Kincaid is out. Wide receiver Curtis Samuel out. McCole Hardman out. So they could move up Gabe Davis, the veteran from the practice squad. Also, Keon Coleman could be benched for the second consecutive week. Head coach Sean McDermott must make that determination before game time. And so very thin in that area. You could see the running backs, James Cook and third down back Ty Johnson, more involved in the passing game. They had big gains last week against the Bucs with those two running the screens, trying to get them involved because the Bills are trying to sustain drives. They know they're really beat up on defense with a lot of different lineups, so they want longer drives. So you're going to see those running backs in the passing game, and then they're going to have to press the number 17 button when they need it for Josh Allen to bail them out with his legs. Expect him to run a decent amount. They don't want to overuse that, but through the course of a week when they're depleted, they're going to need to. But either way, the pass rush for the Texans is coming, Laura. Danielle Hunter, Will Anderson Jr., probably the best duo in the league. I spoke with Hunter recently about this game and how the Bills might play him. He said, if they try to chip block me, I eat chips for breakfast.
Ooh, I love, that's a great line. Jeremy, really interesting stuff. We'll keep an eye on that Keon Coleman situation. It'll be pretty interesting to see when actives and inactives come out. James Cook, by the way, already with over 200 touches this season, one of only 5 players who can say that. And look at this, the driving force behind this Texans team has been their defense that Jeremy was just referencing. Tops in the league in points per game, yards per game, also allowing the second fewest yards per play. All of those franchise records through 10 games of the season. We're all here today. We got Dan Orlovsky, Peter Schrager, Jason McCourty. Boys, a lot to get to. Adam Schefter will join us a little bit later with some news. Peter, we just heard about all the injuries for the Bills pass catchers, plus the Keon Coleman situation if he ends up being benched again in this game. What does it mean for tonight?
Well, what do we know? We know that there's no true number 1 wide receiver. We know there's probably no number 2 receiver. We also know there's no McCole Hardman. We know there's no Curtis Samuel. And we might not have the guy Keon Coleman, who they drafted in the second round and had a healthy scratch last week. So what's that mean? Everyone else has to step up, and everyone else has to do this again week after week. Take a look last week in a game where they scored 44 points. The amount of players who had targets and the names. We're relying on guys like Dawson Knox to have 3 big plays. Gabe Davis, who was off the team then on the practice squad. Again, we don't know if Keon Coleman's going to dress tonight. He was a healthy scratch last week. It's a short week. They might need him to dress, even if they wanted to make a disciplinary action. We don't know if Gabe Davis is going to dress. We imagine he will, even if it's just for special teams to make plays. This is, again, hey, Josh Allen, put on your cape, find a way. Because I'll tell you what, last week's defense, the Buccaneers, they couldn't stop the Bills. The Houston Texans, they can. Fascinating to see who steps up, Laura, and those injuries do not help. Hardman and Samuel might not be on your fantasy team. Those are important players because they played big spots in recent weeks.
Yeah. Hey, you're right about guys needing to step up because this Houston Texans defense is going to get after Josh Allen. They're going to try their hardest to really affect and impact him and send guys at him. They did it a year ago when they played in a game. A lot of it came down to rushing 4 guys, but then spying Josh Allen as well. You're going to see right here on the right, winning with an inside move and getting around, forcing him out the pocket, getting him off the spot. And then Azeez Al-Shaair has eyes on him, and now you're able to close. The next part of it, they have one of the best secondaries in the NFL. They're going to play man coverage, and they're going to force you to have to make a play with sticky coverage in the back end. Right there, Josh hits his back foot, nobody to throw to. When you mention all of those injuries for Josh Allen, it comes down to how fast can you get the ball out and get it into guys' hands. They have numbers here, 3-on-3 blocking. The closest guy to make the tackle is now 15 yards away, but is playing with the mentality. You see right there, toe runs a guy over, makes the tackle. And this Houston Texans defense, they fly to the football and make plays and don't allow you to get those yards after the catch.
Elite defense. I love that tape. Last year, they took shots and didn't hit them. This is not a very good red zone defense, though, for Houston. Why? Do you have any insight into that?
A lot of it comes down to, I think, execution on the offensive side. Defensively, you're already at a disadvantage of where you're aligned on the field. A lot of it is the small details, making sure your heels are on the goal line, not letting the guy in. But also, if a team can run through the red zone, that's the easiest way to do it.
Huge part.
Dan, quickly, you mentioned that spy treatment against Josh Allen. He completed only 9 passes, only ran it 4 times. The Texans won last time. Great tape.
They beat him up. They beat him up to hurt this defense, or at least try to have some success against this defense. Every play has to start with, where's 51? How do we block 51? I don't care if it's a pass or a run. Will Anderson, okay?
Woo.
The Tennessee Titans put an offensive lineman out on him. Let's run towards Will. You talked about the trigger of this defense. So this is kind of what the Bills like to do. Block with receivers and lead on their duo. You got to handle the point significantly better when it comes to blocking Will Anderson. I think the second thing is, and this is kind of to your point from last year, J-Mac, you got to make difficult throws down the field. You are not going to drive the length of the field against this defense. So is it a little bit of an eye, ball fake, shoulder fake? The challenge is it needs a high-level throw to be married with it into small, tight windows because they're a very ball-hawking secondary. I think the last thing is Josh Allen's going to have to be outstanding with his legs because they play that match type of defense where it's zone, but if someone comes near him, we take them. I thought one of the things last year for Josh was he didn't necessarily take off. Josh is notorious for man coverage take off, not zone coverage take off. I think tonight, even if it's a 3-yard gain.
When it opens up, go.
Go. This could be a 10 or 12 carry game. Maybe not designed run, but you got to find ways to not allow this defensive line to dominate.
I would just quickly add that, like last week in that game, that Tampa game, I watched back the tape and I watched it in real time. Like Tyrell Shavers was making big plays. Like they need that, not just as a 1-week thing. They need guys who aren't typically relied upon to step up and play the game of their lives every week to compete in these
Palmer's
games.
going to have to at least make
one
big catch tonight, downfield.
Well, and as you said, Josh puts that Superman cape on. Sometimes it's a good thing. Sometimes it gets him into some trouble. The Bills and the Texans getting ready to go.
Together, kid.
Well, you know, I like to. I'm a sideline reporter, so I have to think about these things. No team has more fourth-quarter points since Week 10 than the Texans, who have 2 comeback wins over that span with Davis Mills. Their 5.6 yards per rush in the fourth quarter ranks top 10 in the NFL since then, which could cost the Bills, who are allowing over 5 yards per rush for the entire season, 31st in the NFL. Peter, with Stroud missing his 3rd straight game, what do you expect from this Houston offense tonight with Davis Mills at the helm?
Yeah, Davis Mills comes in, competent backup quarterback, but we also still don't have Joe Mixon in the lineup, which has become one of the lingering questions of the league. When are we going to get him back? And the Houston Texans have given nobody anything on that return. So then you look at the running back position, and it's like, all right, we got Nick Chubb, this veteran. But last week was a breakthrough game for Jaquavius Woody Marks.
Woody Marks can go now.
Woody Marks got 18 touches to Nick Chubb's 3 touches and was in on basically every offensive play. Don't be shocked if you hear Al Michaels tell the story of Woody Marks over the course of tonight's game because I think they're going to rely on him. A rookie 4th-round pick at Mississippi State, then he was at USC, shows up with the Texans, has earned his keep. And without C.J. Stroud and with Nico Collins getting the bulk of the attention from those defensive backs in Buffalo, expect a big game out of Woody Marks. Jaquavius Woody
I love
Marks.
it. By the way, you guys, I just want to note this. That sources telling ESPN that Joe Mixon not expected to return this season. So it's going to be Woody Marks and Nick Chubb the rest of the way.
And I love that you talked about Woody Marks because he's a quick back, a guy that jump cuts, can get all over the field in a hurry. And you look at the Buffalo Bills defense these last 2 weeks, going against Devon Achane in Miami, then going against Sean Tucker. They've given up nearly 400 yards in the last 2 weeks and 5 touchdowns. So when you talk about this rushing defense, the injuries they've had, everything that they've gone through up front, losing guys, and they also play with smaller linebackers. So for them to be able to win the game tonight, they're going to have to stop the run. And you better believe the Houston Texans are going to pull some of these runs, the counters, the gap scheme, pulling guys, leading out, the misdirection, all of those different things, and force them to tackle in the open field. That is something that they have absolutely struggled with. So, Schrags, to your point, I expect that to be a big
motion and misdirection. Kill him.
Week 12, did you have Woody Marks being the biggest name in the NFL?
He did.
Mean, this is what happens in the league.
Dan actually might, which is scary. But Dan, at some point, though, Davis Mills is going to have to make a play, make something happen through the air. Where should he look to do that?
He's got 6'4" on the perimeter, 2 of them. Nico Collins and the rookie receiver, Jaden Higgins. I want to ask you, like, is it as simple as size that's their biggest I mean, from a quarterback perspective, you're watching these guys make plays, and all I see is the body being in between that defender and the ball. Is that the most challenging part? Is it simple as that?
It is as simple as that, and especially depending upon who you're matched up on. I think Christian Benford, who's a bigger corner, who's physical, I think he matches up better against bigger
than like a Harrison.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Different from a Maxwell Harrison on the other side. So a lot of it has to do with that matchup, and it does come down to being able to throw one up every now and then and see if a guy can go get it, especially a Nico Collins.
You see it the past couple of weeks, and Davis Mills probably has a little bit more. At least Higgins has come on over the past couple of weeks with Davis. so often the ball face mask or higher.
Yeah.
No matter the route, no matter where they are in the field.
Okay, it's time to throw up our game picks in this one. I'll be totally honest. I made a mid-show switch. You
Yeah.
guys convinced me talking about this Texans defense.
This is a
I am
tough
the
one.
only one going with the Texans here. The rest of you guys in the Bills. I had picked the Bills earlier in the day, but then also, Dan, you tell me in the break, I'd forgotten this, Josh Allen has never beaten Houston.
0-5.
0-5. Houston has
Shefty
won
said that this morning.
5 straight games.
Look at our scores, though. The low
Yeah,
scoring
scores.
I went back and forth on this one,
I
too.
think it's
That's
an
a
ugly
tough one to-
football game, like a low-scoring, grinded out
Who do you think
football game.
Carissa and the crew are talking to afterwards? Is Josh Allen wearing that cape?
If Buffalo wins, yes. If it's not, if Houston
if they
wins,
lose, it wouldn't be him.
Will Anderson?
Will Anderson, you got blocker, man.
Thanks for the breaking news, man.